Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Your host, Derek Champagne, is the founder and CEO of The Artist Evolution, a full-service agency building successful brands, marketing tools, and campaigns, and also the author of the best-selling book, Don't Buy a Duck. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. I'm your host, Derek Champagne. Our guest today, we've got Espree Devora, and she is the founder of wearelatech.com. Espree, welcome to the program today.
Yay! Hi! Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
We are excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about you're a serial entrepreneur. You've got a very diverse background. I'd love to hear about how you came across starting We Are LA Tech, but also step back a little bit more and tell me a little bit about kind of your journey to get you to where you are today.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I've always known since I was a little girl that I was an entrepreneur and wanted to be an entrepreneur. I think I was just born one. And so, my dad and I would take these walks and I'd see these empty office buildings and I would daydream about what kind of businesses I would put in them, even when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. It's very awkward. And when I became a teenager, I started, really pursuing learning how to invest in real estate. I would read all these real estate books. And eventually I started my first tech company, which was actually a scuba diving shop before it was easy to just create instantaneous WordPress sites. And that led to one day having an action sports media network. And now I have We Are LA Tech. But We Are LA Tech actually was not a company for a really long time. It was just a community project. And in a lot of ways, I think the heart of it is still very much a community project. But in order to sustain itself, it needs to be a company and a profitable one in order to pay my team that I pay to work with me. And in order to give back to the community, we need to be able to take care of ourselves, of course.
Right. So tell me about We Are LA Tech. What motivated you to start it? What was the gap in the marketplace? What was the need, and what motivated you to launch that?
Sure. Well, in the beginning, the very first thing was, it was, again, a community project. So it was just a video series so I have a background in media production. So I've produced so many action sports, skate videos, motocross. Like I used to shoot Tony Hawk and Shaun White, and it was a very exciting time. And so I missed producing high quality videos. So at that point, my interest was the startup culture. I'm born and raised in LA. And I thought, how cool would it be if I could offer my talent to these, to locals in the community and just kind of highlight them just for fun as a hobby. And so I partnered up with someone to do that. But unfortunately, to undergo editing, we shot 12 episodes, but to undergo editing is quite a significant process. And so in that time, I developed the We Are LA Tech community calendar so everybody in the LA Tech area could know what's going on. I believe this was about 2012. And there weren't that many tech events going on in LA at that time. Right. And anyway, so at the end of the day, the 12 episodes, to my heart's sadness, were not able to be edited. And I needed to get re-inspired. So I actually went backpacking through 14 different countries for 4 months, meeting with startups in all these different countries. And what I discovered is that we're a very global community as entrepreneurs, but yet we feel very isolated in our journeys. And I thought that was very fascinating. So when I came back, I actually took a really cool job for a while because I was actually trying not to be an entrepreneur. I was like, why do I want to be such a risk taker? It doesn't make any sense. And but the heart will want what it wants, and I'm just destined to be a founder. So I shortly after that job, I discovered podcasting, and this is before podcasting took off like it is right now. So podcast startup hadn't come out yet, Serial hadn't come out yet, and I was like, wow, with a podcast you can have all this great content, but you don't have to have a video editor anymore. And I can edit all of them myself. And I thought this was so cool. So I created the We Are LA Tech podcast. Again, in order to connect and unite the community together as a community project. I really had no entrepreneurial expectations of it, other than I would, at that time, I did want it to be sustained, because that's just smart to make sure that everything that you do has the resources to provide for it. Sure. And within a couple weeks, it shot up to number 2 in the country on New and Noteworthy. And that was just
that's amazing.
It was incredible. I'm like, wow, I guess I have a thing here. So at this point, I'd been maintaining the calendar since 2012. I still had this archived footage of the 12 episodes, and now I had the podcast. And then one of my friends who runs this great Facebook group, Matt Cooper. It's called Silicon Beach. It's a private Facebook group. He said, it's really frustrating when people post Eventbrite links in the Facebook group because it takes up the whole news feed. I said, well, I already have the calendar. Why don't I have a Facebook group just for LA Tech events? And he's like, that would be great. And so that's how the Facebook group came about, and now we have a couple thousand people in there. And it just like one thing kept coming after another. Eventually we developed a mobile app for the calendar so the whole community could add everything to their personal calendar in one swipe. And we developed a private chat group utilizing Slack, and we have t-shirts, and and then in June 2015 I piloted the We Are LA Tech Experience Club, and that was very much inspired by my backpacking trip. I wanted to have life experiences. Like, why just always be at a computer and not really be experiencing life? And I wondered if other people that had the same passion for technology and growing a company felt the same as I did. So I launched this 3-month pilot program in June 2015 called the We Are LA Tech Experience Club, where engineers, founders, investors, product managers, we go, go-kart racing together. We go, cupcake tasting together, wine and paint nights. We do those jet ski jump packs or whatever they're called. Next week we're going horseback riding. It's just really cool stuff. And actually June marks the 1-year anniversary of the We Are LA Tech Experience Club. So
awesome.
I'm just
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really, really exciting. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. And what I'd like to see for the future of We Are LA Tech is that the Experience Club is, sustainable and then profitable and robust, and that the podcast continues to move forward and connect our community together, and that's also sustainable and profitable and robust. And, so I'm just working diligently to get that, to make it all happen. And I have an amazing team that's worked with me. It's so strange, like literally starting since 2013, 2014, somehow we came together, these really talented people, and they've just supported me for a while, and they're still here supporting, the vision of We Are LA Tech and of me, and I hope that they feel that I support them just the same, so that all our dreams are possible. It's really cool.
That's really awesome. That's exciting. So tell me about the outsourcing cheat sheet.
The outsourcing cheat sheet. Well, that I outsource my love life too, right?
And I had that on my question to ask, and I wasn't sure if I was going to, but yes, I'd love to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, so I like to live life in a really innovative way. I don't think we need to live inside what is quote unquote normal. So I like to kind of explore and have adventure in how I do different things. So the outsourcing cheat sheet, I've been outsourcing way before Tim Ferriss popularized outsourcing. However, I did love his book and read it multiple times, and it definitely helped me improve my game. But yeah, my first outsourcing contractor was via Elance, Sanjay. I still appreciate you. Worked with me for years. And it's great. And I just realized how important it was in order to get things done to have a great team behind you. And when I think of the term outsourcing or delegating, I think of delegating not only to the team, but also to productivity tools and resources. Like I've used a scheduling tool called Calendly. I think if I remember correctly, you use MeetSo or something like right?
That's
or
correct.
Meet Me?
Meet Me. Yes.
Meet Me. Yeah. And so it's like, there's just throughout the day, I like to ask myself, like, what is it that I can delegate to either a tool or a person in order for the whole organization to be the most efficient it could possibly be? And of course, I'm not perfect at it, but that's what inspired the outsourcing cheat sheet. Was that it seemed like a lot of people didn't know how to communicate with outsourced contractors, and they had a lot of trust issues when it came to outsourcing, or didn't really know what the term meant to them. And so I just wanted to create like a really easy, actionable way for people. One, like the cheat sheet had so many great like how-to guides, and then it had like a list of contractors to choose from. So I really did the work for you in finding great people.
That's cool.
And then outsourcing my love life. So ode to Tim Ferriss again, I suppose. But Tim Ferriss had this video about how he outsourced his love life, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty cool idea. If he could do it, so can I. But instead of doing it exactly as he did it, what I did is I had an assistant, Bobby Ann, who's amazing. Hi, Bobby Ann. She's so dope. She was working with me out in New York, and she was helping me run my company at the time called Save Business Time, which is now a blog on productivity tools. Okay. And so she started to log in to my Match profile, my OkCupid profile, like all my different online profiles. I never believe in lying or fibbing. So she would say that, she would find different people and say, hey, I think you'd be a good fit for my boss. And then she just set us up on dates, and we would blog about it anonymously on, I think it's called outsourceyourlovelife.com. And it was so much fun. I went on all these cool dates, and then one of the dates really worked out. It was a super cool guy, and at the end of the day, he had to leave town, so it didn't work out long term. But he was so nice, and I'm so happy for the life experience, of meeting him. He took me on remember, it's all blind dates for me, so he took me on a horseback ride on our first date, which I thought was really killer. Wow. And then we had a great lunch, and he was just a really cool guy. So and then after that, I outsourced my love life to Facebook ads. And that was great. Ended up I built this site. I think it's called strikingly.com/Espree. It might be strikingly.co/Espree, but you can see my site there. And I'll send you the link to Derek.
Very cool. Thank you.
But and then I sent Facebook ads to that site and ended up meeting cool guys. So I was able to geo-target the exact type of guy that I wanted to meet, and so that was fun. And then most recently, I've been outsourcing my love life to my Facebook friends, and I like going on blind dates, so telling them to set me up on a blind date.
That's awesome. I thought that was very unique when I saw that in your bio profile when I was researching more for the show. Proves how much you trust the outsourcing that you're doing. Totally. So I love that. You're living it.
You know what's interesting though, Derek? A lot of people, when they see that I'm outsourcing my love life, they just assume that I'm hungry to get married or something. And it's really interesting because I actually do all these, adventurous or exploration methods because I'm just enjoying the journey of life. I'm actually not rushing to get somewhere, and I think that would create so much more peace of mind for everyone if they just kind of took each day as it came and just kind of enjoyed the process behind it all. That's why I don't even need to see what the guys look like. All I care about is that they're a good, kind-hearted person that wants to treat me well, Yeah.
Well, you have such a passion about you. You obviously love what you're doing. And where does that come from? I know as an entrepreneur myself, we're kind of wired that way too. It wakes us up in the morning. It has us dreaming. It has us writing out our vision and making it into action. But what drives you? What do you enjoy? Where does your passion come from?
Totally. Well, I mean, I don't know really where it comes from. I think I was born with it, but I do know my mom's an incredibly passionate person. She's amazing. And so she's my hero. And I get a lot of joy in making the impossible possible. And what really excites me is that when I can see other people's dreams come true. So when I'm building a company, it's not just about seeing that things manifest for me. It's about seeing things manifest for all of us. And for We Are LA Tech, that's also about manifesting for the community. So when I hear someone met their investor because of We Are LA Tech, found their roommate because of We Are LA Tech, or their co-founder, or their engineer, or their best friend, it's such a reward to think that the universe allowed me this gift that has created this a positive impact on other people.
Well, I want to ask you just a minute about some more examples of how you brought some people together. But since you brought up your mom, your mom is a memory master. for our listeners, she's America's memory motivator. Yeah, she's America's memory motivator,
coined by Brian Gumbel. Yeah. I mean, she's been on David Letterman. She wrote the Executive Memory Guide, and she's a unique individual. She is just amazing. She climbs a mountain every morning. No joke.
Is she in Los Angeles as well?
Yeah, she's in LA. And she's really, she believes that, to live life under your own terms. And I just think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's been on many other shows as well, but was coined as the only one that could make Brian Gumbel laugh on camera. Right? That's what I saw.
It's great. My mom always says every no leads to a yes. And so like all I just need to keep doing is like moving ahead, and eventually I get to that yes. And she also says you get more with honey than you can with vinegar.
Yeah,
so
that's good. That's good advice. So tell me, let's go back to We Are LA Tech. Give me some examples. Tell me about some of the stories of people coming together, and obviously on the surface it seems like a great idea, but dig in a little bit more and tell us how some people have come together and met investors and been able to really pursue their dreams, because I think it's really cool that you get to, with your job and your passion in this project, get to bring so many people together at a time.
Oh, totally. Well, I think what's really interesting is like I really put a lot of emphasis on the culture code for We Are LA Tech and in creating unique life experiences for people rather than just like the traditional networking event. And so when you create situations and environments where people could establish that accelerated rapport, it leads to a more beneficial both business and personal relationship, because you start to solidify that trust faster. You start to get to know that person's ins and outs faster. And so in doing things like the Experience Club, where people, get together for a tea tasting, or, this is like, now they have a memory that solidifies like that unique life experience. And then they're able to like really talk about business, because if you just meet someone in a networking event and then somebody says, essentially, what can you do for me? It's not, who wants that question ever? Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And those strict networking events start to get so watered down, or it's just cards passing out the whole time, and it really isn't a meaningful connection or engagement. And I've come to avoid those for that reason. Totally.
And the podcast is great too. Like one girl, I didn't know her at all. She's like, because of your podcast, I raised $200,000. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. It's like, it's just nuts. Even for me, I had this awesome entrepreneur in LA, Brian Switchcow, on the We Are LA Tech podcast a few weeks ago. And he brought up this project of another LA. I always ask in every episode of the We Are LA Tech. Well, so there's micro episodes for the We Are LA Tech podcast, and then there's the main episodes. So for the micro episodes, they're called LA Startup Spotlights. So in the spotlights, I always ask, like, who's really impressed you in the LA Tech community? Like, what startup, what tech company, what entrepreneur? And so Brian Switchcow brought up this guy, Blake Jameson, who is an LA Tech entrepreneur currently in San Francisco pursuing a project called 90 Days to MoMA. I'd never heard about it before.
Okay.
Wasn't aware that it was going on. And so after the podcast episode, I Google it. And I'm like, this is so cool. This guy is launching a project. He's like a tech entrepreneur turned artist. And in 90 days, he's going to get his artwork into SF MoMA, which is like, the Museum of Modern Art. And it's like a story of like productivity, of goal setting, and of making them possible. And so I started following the story that I even ended up flying out. Now, mind you, if Brian was never on the podcast, I would have never discovered this.
Right.
And so it's now personally impacted me. I ended up flying out for the opening of Blake's art show, and then ended up being in one of his documented episodes, because what he did is he hired a guy off of Craigslist, Derek, to live with him every day and document his journey on getting into MoMA. It's crazy. Right? So it's funny because I think about that. I think about how, it seems so simple. You have someone in the studio recording a simple conversation, right? But then that conversation creates like a domino effect that affects a lot of other people's lives. My own, the girl who got $200,000, the other people that I don't even know about, it's just like, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy the kind of impact we have just by taking action.
It really is amazing. I think my journey was somewhat similar, and I had a new book that came out, and so the podcast was kind of a natural outflow with a PR person I worked with, and it was kind of a labor of love as well. I was not looking to monetize. I just really wanted to learn from entrepreneurs and people like you. And it's amazing how this network opens up of other entrepreneurs and other businesses and other motivated people. I would not have expected that until I kind of got into it. And it's just such a powerful platform of honest networking that you really are just trying to learn from one another.
Well, from most, right? I'd say if I had one ask from just society in general, is to do things driven from the heart rather than a selfish purpose. Because like when you create from the heart, it shoots out such amazing, positive, magnetic energy to the rest of the world to create a positive influence on all those who surround you. It's an unbelievable like life effect, you know?
Right.
And when you're coming from a selfish place, people pick up on that, and then it almost creates this like dead end zone, and the energy doesn't flow anywhere.
Right.
You know, because it's going in the wrong direction rather than going outward, it's going inward. And so, yeah, I'm just so grateful that I'm able to share the stories of these awesome, you know, LA tech entrepreneurs and the rest of the people in the community, and that I am able to be a part of their journey just as much as they're able to be a part of mine.
I love that. And I love you're getting great response from the community, and they're coming together and you're helping connect people like that. So let me ask you, you talked a little bit about being honest and about your goals and intentions, but what does success look like for you? The balance for entrepreneurs, we like to create things. We do want to be successful.
Totally.
And yes, there is the monetary side, but what does happiness and success look like for you when you're developing something?
Totally. Well, I love that you asked me that question because it's actually been something really important to me. So before, when I was building my sports company, success looked like being on the cover of Inc. magazine and an IPO.
Right.
And the definition of success has completely changed for me now. Now success means a couple things. It means, one, am I happy each day? And if I'm not, let me evaluate that and reflect so I can make changes immediately. Two, and what happiness means to me is literally, am I smiling? Do I feel light in my body? Do I feel healthy? Am I eating well? Like, am I well rested?
Right.
And then success, true success, is merely taking action. Like, just taking action. I am not psychic. I as much as I'd love to have control, I can't have control over what will come, over, you know, what kind of results will happen from each experiment that I do. But I can control simply being proactive and taking action each and every day, and doing my best to have the most positive mindset while doing so. And so that's success to me. And the one thing, if you don't mind if I shout out one thing, is like, it's pretty cool, is I'm actually launching under We Are LA Tech is the Women in Tech podcast.
Nice.
And that actually came from, speaking of taking action, it's a lot of people, at least in the LA tech community, talk about you know, a lot of challenges that women have, being an entrepreneur and being in the tech space, or being an engineer in the tech space, etc. And I just have never felt held back in my life. And I happen to be, you know, a female in tech. And I'm like, I just want to create a piece of content where people leave it saying, well, if she can do it, so can I. You know, and that's kind of like taking action. Like, it's like this. I was frustrated with this, you know, with this thing. And rather than just sitting in frustration saying, like, why aren't there positive things? I'm like, well, I'm going to go create one.
Yeah,
you know?
that's great.
So, yeah. So I hope everybody listening, when it's live and ready, will tune into the Women in Tech podcast. In the meanwhile, it's Women in Tech. I think it's womenintechvip.com. Takes you to the Facebook group. We're all chatting in until it's live.
Excellent. So let me ask you, how do you maintain focus? I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, there's also that artistry side. We like to create. We like new things. How do you stay focused long enough to develop something and see it succeed?
Totally. Well, the quickest thing I'll say is Pomodoro. I don't know if you've heard of Pomodoro, but I use Pomodoro Pro, and you work in 25-minute increments, and then it gives you like 7 to 15-minute breaks. What I think is so important about that is not so much about time management, though time management is important. It's more like being mindful of your health. For instance, we're going to be on this podcast. Let's say, like, I'll be sitting in this chair for about an hour. It's not really great to continue sitting in the chair for another 4 hours. So if I was on Pomodoro and it would say, hey, it's break time, that means, like, for me, stand up, drink some water, walk around, play on my balance board, you know?
Right.
And so I think, and then also the Pomodoro, you're able to put the task in. And then so if I say I'm doing this podcast right now, which is pretty easy because I wouldn't be multitasking anyway, but let's just say it's this, then this is all I would be doing right now. Whereas if you don't really have that kind of accountability looking over your shoulder, like you may be like, oh, let me click on Facebook real quick, or let me click on that real quick. But when you see a countdown, the 25-minute countdown, and you have your task in there and you know what task you should be working on and you haven't checked it off yet as complete, then it's like you're not going to click on the Facebook because you feel like you're losing the game. The other thing that I really rely on is Spark Planner, that was developed by a female engineer in San Francisco. It's a physical planner. I love it. It tells me my yearly, monthly, daily goals, and you write in it every single day, and you just kind of stay conscious of what you wanted over the entire year, what you want per month, and what you want per week and per day. Because really what happens, time flies by, and accountability is huge. And if you don't hold yourself accountable in some way, before you know it, it's going to be December of the end of the year again, you know?
Right.
And I know this has happened to me many a times, you know, even with all these things in mind to happen. So I just try to stay as conscious as possible to really be utilizing the tools that I have to make them work for me. And doing my best not to overcomplicate things, meaning, there's so many tools out there now. Just find the ones that work for me and then let the rest go.
That's great. Are there a couple other tools you can think of that you're excited about? New technology?
Oh my God. Contactually is great. I don't know if you're familiar with Contactually. It's a great way to follow up with your contacts. It's fantastic. Fancy Hands is something I use every day. Fancy Hands is like a super affordable virtual assistant service. Essentially, you have US-based assistants help you in 20-minute increments on the different tasks, and you just send it in. It's so affordable. I can't remember their plans, but I think they're as low as like $60 a month. Wow. And then what else? God, there's so many. I love Evernote. I use Evernote all the time. Calendly is huge. I know we were talking, you use Meet Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You've got some great pieces.
Does Snapchat count? I love Snapchat.
I think Snapchat.
That's a product of him, but you guys follow me on Snapchat. We are LA Tech. I'm in love with Snapchat.
We will definitely do that. So any other entrepreneurial advice you want to share with our listeners, or those of our listeners that might be in a place? I mean, you're obviously passionate about what you're doing. I love and am passionate about my work. What about those that are listening that maybe are not in a position or a place where they're as fulfilled in their work and the majority of their time that they're living out their days?
Totally. Well, there's two things I learned through my journey so far in being an entrepreneur, and I think they're really important. And I wish someone told me these things when I was, 17 years old. One is we all create our own journey. I know so many times I've met heroes like Richard Branson and, a lot of people like Mark Cuban and all these different heroes in the world, right? But they all have their own story, their own path, their own timing. And so we have to create our own journey and not worry about replicating someone else's, because it will take us in a different direction. There's no way to replicate someone else's story. And then the second thing that is, I think, the most important thing is your intuition is your oracle. When I was 17, 18 years old, starting my first company, I thought that, someone like 30 would know more than me. You know what I mean? Someone 50, someone 60. Sure. I just thought they would know more than me. And really, your intuition is a powerful thing. It's funny how your intuition knows the right answer. You just feel it. And your right answer may be different than someone else's right answer. But I mean, the most influential book in my life for being an entrepreneur was The Alchemist that I read when I was 14. Yeah. And it's, if you believe in something with all your heart and soul, the whole world will conspire to make that a reality. And so if you have the right kind heart behind your dream and your vision, just start taking action and let the magic happen, and just follow your intuition. And there's going to be mistakes, and it's not going to be an easy journey. But man, is it fulfilling when you literally make the impossible possible. And everybody's competent enough to do that. Everybody. It's all about just taking steps forward. And
it is that mindset too, because when you have that mindset, you start to recognize the opportunities and how they're going to fit in. You don't always know. You don't always know when or where they're going to appear, but when you see them, you recognize it. And so
totally.
And I just think that's really powerful as well. But if you're closed off to it, then a lot of things are going to pass by, and you're not going to do something new.
And I want you guys to feel like, look, if you're sitting listening to this episode right now and you're like, man, she makes it sound so easy, like my life sucks or whatever, or I'm really not digging on my job, like, you're not alone. Like, I want you to reach out to me. I'm just at Espree Devora on Twitter. You could just say hi. Like, I want to be supportive of you. Like, I live my life feeling really grateful that I'm allowed to be a part of your journey just as much as I was saying before as others are allowed to be a part of mine. Like, definitely reach out. Don't stay stuck. Don't stay in that place, because you only have one life. We have one life. And sometimes being an entrepreneur is so hard. I live each day by the minute. I'm like, I am okay this minute, and that's sometimes like all you need to get to the next minute. So definitely like, don't let yourself drown in being alone. Reach out to me and say hey, and I'll be super connected and make sure I get back to you.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice. Is there anything else you want to share with our listeners today?
That you guys are awesome.
Espree, thank you so much for being our guest. I reached out to you because I thought you had a cool story, and I love what you're doing in the We Are LA Tech movement. Where can our listeners learn more about you? Share a couple other contact points.
Oh, sure. As I mentioned on Twitter, at Espree Devora. If you want to go to the We Are LA Tech Twitter, that's at We Are LA Tech, wearelatech.com, We Are LA Tech on Snapchat, Instagram, all the goods. And and the Women in Tech podcast, womenintechvip.com. And so honestly, if there was one takeaway from the whole thing, other than, making sure to create out of your heart, it's like, just believe it's possible, because that's all you need to start taking action forward. Even if you don't know what the road looks like or what to do first, just believe that it's possible, because anything is possible if you believe it is.
Yeah. Espree, thank you again for being our guest, and we look forward to continuing to follow you. And I'm sure some of our listeners will reach out to learn more about you as well.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks,
thank you so much. Have a great
I appreciate it.
Thanks.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Take a 5-minute complimentary marketing assessment for your business. Whether you're a startup or an established brand looking for more quality customers for your business, this confidential assessment will help you identify the next logical steps for appropriate marketing tools, strategy, and development for making sure your branding and marketing campaign is a success. Visit assessmymarketing.com today. That's